Facebook, YouTube, or X. Coming up in about a half hour, former Chiefs wide receiver Danon Hughes is going to join us. He, of course, will be on the Chiefs radio network 106.5 The Wolf throughout the football season. I want to get his perspective as a player when you see the schedule come out, not what you're first looking for necessarily, but also what would be going through your mind when you see a stretch of games like the Chiefs are going to have towards the end of December, including a Wednesday, Christmas Day game, when a Saturday game is the week before. And so all of a sudden you've got a tough stretch, early bye week. All that we'll get into with Danon Hughes. We'll also get a national perspective on the Chiefs schedule and what's just going on with the Chiefs right now heading into the rest of the offseason with Matt Verderam from Sports Illustrated. That's coming up at 12:30 today. But obviously the schedule is out. All the leaks, speculation, it's over. It's official last night. That was sent out. And I'll be honest, man, like, I love the fact that it leaked out the way it does every year. I like that it drags on a little bit. I know some people don't. But I'll admit, the NFL Network or ESPN studio shows, I had it on as background noise because initially it's the closest thing the NFL can do to basically having us watch QVC or something in an infomercial. Because that's what it was. Like, Rich Eisen's there, and they're bringing on Jim Nantz and bringing on Al Michaels to talk about the lineup of games. And then they're like, don't forget tickets are on sale now. Like, it was just an infomercial for 3 hours last night, but I can't help it. We're addicted.
But you watched.
Background noise for about a half hour. Then I flipped over to the playoffs. But I'll admit, I definitely watched the first half hour of it. 5 minutes into the show, Michael Robinson was already going through the schedule. Win, loss, win, loss. He had the Chiefs going 0-2 and 2-4 to start the season, by the way.
I like Michael Robinson, though. He's
fun, yeah.
He does something no one else does, and it's entertaining.
Oh, Maurice Jones-Drew was on with him. Maurice Jones-Drew is good, MJD.
I know, I'm just saying he does, like, his niche is, like, different. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Here's what I saw, though, with the schedule. I don't know if you agree. Other than the obvious complaint, which is, hey, they got 3 games in 10 days. I wonder if this schedule, now that it includes any year where Christmas is going to fall on a Wednesday, we know now they're going to have holiday games on Netflix. We know they're going to continue to put the Chiefs in every single new television window possible. They want the best on there, and they don't care if it impacts your schedule or not. And so when I see the Chiefs have an early bye week in week 6, and I know they've got 3 games in 10 days in December, if there was ever a year, though, that could cause teams, in this case the Chiefs, to look towards what the NBA, you were mentioning the NBA to start the show, load management, this would be the year. If there was ever a year, not saying for Patrick Mahomes and the quarterbacks, but if there was ever a year where you'd be a little more cautious, someone's got a little injury going to that Texans game, you're like, man, we got 2 more games in the next 9 days or whatever. Nope, not playing. This is the year you would do it. It's not that in a couple years the league's going to expand to an 18-game schedule. That is going to happen, I'm sure. But I think the way the schedule is being laid out now could also lead to that happening.
Somebody says, pardon my French, but the Chiefs got effed. Sorry for cussing. 3 games in 10 days in December with a week 6 bye is atrocious. They're begging players to be hurt. I mean, it's not fun. It's not great. We called it last night the Gauntlet of December, trying to get that trademarked. And then I saw Pete Sweeney on 41 News, and he's talking about the Gauntlet in December. I'm like, Pete?
Oh, you stole it. Are you accusing him of stealing?
No, because we only talked for like half a second through text, and it was just about the PGA Championship. But, yeah, I mean, I think the way Chris and I kind of discussed it last night is, like, it is what it is, right? Like, it's you're the team of the NFL. You're going to have all the primetime games. Even though you have 5 and there's 3 of those that have 6, you're going to have big primetime games. It is tough. It is interesting to me when it comes to the early bye, because this is the first time they've had a bye this early since 2016. I don't know what changed or how that, after 8 years, they're like, you know what? We're tired of giving the Chiefs a bye when it comes to, week 10 or week 11. So you think about it, you start off the season with 2 just blockbuster games. And when you talk about your load management, winning those 2 games really emphasizes that towards the end, because then maybe you don't have to play a lot of starters on that Christmas Day game in Pittsburgh, which Netflix would be super pissed. Or, you can go up 14-0 and know that Russell Wilson probably can't do it. Or by then maybe Fields is the starter, or maybe neither one of them are because they both are just trash. And then you look at where this entire season goes, and it is tough. Every year we have this discussion of, boy, the Chiefs have a tough schedule. Currently, according to last year's winning percentage, they are, I think, tied 16th or 15th with strength of schedule. I think the toughest strength of schedule is the Cleveland Browns. That game is, I believe, December 15th or so, December 18th and week 15, I think is. That's a tough game, by the way, when you look at that gauntlet in December. But yeah, the schedule's tough, man. It is what it is. But doesn't that kind of make the three-peat that much sweeter if you get it? Because it's like, we had to play 3 games in 10 days. We had to play Baltimore, Cincinnati to start the season. I say we, they, the Chiefs. And then all of a sudden it's like, now what? Right? Like every year has a special nugget of appreciation towards it,
Sure.
right? First year, they're down by 10 in every single playoff game. They're down by 27 at one point, or 24 against Houston. They somehow win the Super Bowl. They go against Philadelphia. They're down by 10 in the fourth quarter. They win the Super Bowl. Last year, they were supposed to be the first round bounce. They had to go on the road. They won the Super Bowl. This year, you have the toughest, weirdest combined schedule when it comes to games, weeks, holidays, whatever. Black Friday, Christmas, all that sort of stuff. And then it's like, they did it again. It's like, what now? And again, this is what you get when you're the best. And when you're at the top, yeah, I get it. Other teams don't really have that sort. I know Cincinnati, Drew was talking about his team. They've got a lot of games in a short amount of time, but just go do it. Go do the damn thing.
This is going to happen more and more, not just for the Chiefs, but any other top-tier teams, because of now the NFL has chosen the path, which we all know and understand from a business standpoint. Hey, Netflix wants to write us a check for $75 million for these games this year. Sure. Oh, and you want the best team? Yeah, okay. If that's what it takes to sign to get the deal signed,
right.
We'll put the Chiefs on there. Oh, wait, that means they're going to have to play 3 games in 10 days? They'll deal with it. Like that's basically what the NFL is saying. And ultimately, look, they have an experienced head coach. I think that matters in a weird way. We don't talk normally about experience with coaches when it comes to the schedule release. But I actually think in this instance, it does. Andy Reid has his routine down that he likes to have. But if there was a coach that has the ability to adapt and kind of figure this thing out of how the schedule's going to lay out and what they have to do during that particular stretch that we're all kind of keying in on at the back end of the season, I have faith that this is the group that can do it. The three-peat year is always going to be special and challenging in its own right. It's never been done. We all know that in NFL history. And now you add in the layer of some people, maybe even players, I don't know, want to talk themselves into the NFL's purposely doing this. I don't think they're purposely doing it, but what it does eliminate is this notion, and I don't want to hear it during the season again, which is, well, the NFL is just setting things up. They want the Chiefs to win. Remember that crap during the season last year? Don't give me any of that. The NFL right now, if they wanted to set the Chiefs up better, they would not have put them on a stretch of games where they play on what is it, the 21st and then the 20th.
It's like the 18th, the 21st, and the 25th.
Yeah, so this year, 3 games in 10 days. They have 6 different days of the week that they have football games this year. And we know Tuesday is the one outlier where they don't. The last week of the season could end up being a Saturday game as well. It depends on the
4th
what's
or 5th
up
of January.
Yeah, whatever's at stake. They
Irrelevant.
Most likely.
No starters.
Most likely that game against the Denver
Carson Wentz
Broncos.
win against the Steelers?
I mean, maybe
on Christmas Day. How bad is that? That's a lump of coal for Netflix.
Carson Wentz, Bo Nix, week 18.
Hey.
That's where it's probably
Christmas Day Netflix, Carson Wentz and Russell Wilson.
I will say, though, with this, my biggest issue, actually, if we're other than, hey, they're on Christmas Day, and I think we kind of saw this coming the way it was trending once Christmas Day was going to be a thing. And next year, if there's some special window, they'll put the Chiefs in that too. The week 6 bye sucks, man. That part sucks. You couple it with what's happening on the back end of the schedule. That's the part that I can't stand is the early bye. I've never liked that anyway for any team.
Yeah.
When you're playing this many weeks anyway, I always want that bye, ideally like week 10, 11, or 12. And they even have byes this year for teams week 14, quite a few. Week 6, I guess if there's an injury all of a sudden, maybe we're thankful it's week 6 early on. But I would much rather have that bye week 12, 13, or 14. That's where I actually think the league didn't do them a favor.
Right. I think I'm in that same boat with you because if you think about where they play the 3 games in 10 days, you would think that the NFL, who we know is not smart, would put the bye week right before that. So it's like, yeah, you're going to play 3 games in 10 days. Excuse me. But you're going to get a bye week before that. Hopefully your team's – because technically, if you think about it, let's just be real big bias homers Chiefs fans here real quick. Let's say they do win the first 2 games of the season, right? That gives them a standout shot of being the first place seed in the AFC. Then your biggest challenge moving forward is that Buffalo game on the road, but I think Buffalo is really trending downward this year. And then the next big game is what? Houston week 16, I think is that game. Let's say you take care of business against Houston at home. You've got a 2-game lead in the AFC. You essentially then would have 3 bye weeks because you could rest on Christmas Day if you wanted to, if you've got it pretty much locked up. you could definitely rest in week 18 against Denver on the road. And then if you're the 1 seed, you get a bye week already. So technically you get a three straight weeks of bye weeks, which is basically what Baltimore did last year. Right,
it is, and you get into the debate of how much rest is good rest and all that crap.
More rest
but
is great.
That conversation's going to come up though.
Rest or rust or whatever they call it. Yeah,
if they're in that position,
I would love it.
I agree with you though. That's why the first half of the season, which is I believe Warren Sharp put out, he does a good job, and there's two different ways to approach strength of schedule. Like the traditional old school way is we'll just look at the records from last year and that's how we determine strength of schedule. We've learned now that there's better ways to do that, and not just because it involves odds, but like looking at win totals for teams this year. Not that Vegas is always right, but just looking at win totals to me is a more accurate way of looking at strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Based on that, the Chiefs have, I think it's the third toughest week 1 through 5 start in the NFL because they open up against Baltimore, they open up against Cincinnati, and
Atlanta.
San Francisco's after the first 5. But yeah, Atlanta, I think is going to be. Baltimore can win their division. Cincinnati, I know it's the same division, could win the AFC North.
Yeah.
The Falcons, I think, will win the NFC South.
Yeah.
So you start looking through the first 5, and the Chargers, the Chargers will see what happens.
And that's a road game.
And it is on the road. It's Harbaugh and everything that goes with that. I just think the way the schedule was laid out, the bye thing is almost worse for me than even the back end stretch because I just feel like we knew that was coming. The one thing that I thought still could happen would have been a later bye week. That's just not going to happen. And
if anything, the NFL wants the Chiefs to lose, not the Chiefs to win.
Yeah, some people would believe that the NFL is intentionally doing that. I don't think it's intentional, other than intentional that they're in every single prime window and they're like, we don't care the consequence. Our television partners and new streaming partners, more importantly for them right now, if they're paying X amount of money, they don't want to have Carolina and the Giants. No. They want to have the Chiefs and the Steelers, name brands, the biggest stars, Swifties, all of it.
Hence why Carolina's got 0 primetime games. They're going to play. They're going to play 15 noon games.
It seems like 30 years ago, but it really wasn't long ago where you remember, you grew up in Kansas City as well, Dusty, where it was always such a big deal. Like, how come we don't get more Sunday Night Football? Or how come we don't get more Monday Night Football?
Because they stink.
Right. Yeah. That was 2012, 2013. Yeah. And now it's on the other end where it's like, we want all these prime slates, but I don't need to be on Christmas Day. I don't need to be on Black Friday. But that's the reality. When you're the biggest brand in the league right now, they're going to showcase you. And that's what's happening.
Do people still get up early and shop on Black Friday? Because I feel like that's kind of dead in the water.
You don't have to get up early anymore.
And now they open their stores at like a respectful time. I know there's still probably some
people
places
still like going to the stores, I think, but so much of it. There's. I used to.
I dated a girl in high school, and she and her family would map out the entire night before on Thanksgiving evening, and they'd be like, "You're going to be here at 5:30. Mom's going to be here at 5:45, and I'll be here, and then we're all going to be." And it was wild.
So one of my first jobs was I would have been, 15 years old maybe, and I was working at Best Buy. And so Black Fridays were the worst day ever, man. People were lining up at midnight the night before. I once even lined up for a television back before I even started working there at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Now you can get a television like
I know, and now it's not even that big of a deal. There's no need to line up. But yeah, no, the Black Friday Amazon game last year, they did it one year with the Jets Dolphins. We knew that was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And at some point the Chiefs were going to get it, and it so happens to be now. The rest of the schedule, is there a stretch other than the Christmas Day 1, 2, 3 that stands out? Because obviously, yes, at the Browns, home versus the Texans, at the Steelers over 10 days is one. To me, the easiest stretch is what I was looking for. Like on paper, there's always surprises. The NFL's got great parity in that regard. But there's a stretch of games once you get past the 49ers week 7. So week 8 at the Raiders, week 9 home to the Bucks, week 10 Denver. That 3-game stretch might be the easiest stretch on paper for me personally of the season. I don't know where you guys are at.
The meat of the sandwich, right? That like 4 or 5 game stretch where it's Buffalo. Is that in that stretch?
Buffalo's after. So
okay.
I was looking more at
week 11.
Before the bye week. So week 8 at the Raiders, week 9 home to Tampa, week 10 home to Denver. Before you go at Buffalo. I mean, you're not high on Buffalo. I still think that's a tough game at Buffalo. In fact, I think there's a chance they still lose that one. In the regular season, not in the playoffs, I would never pick that to be a loss. Later on in the show, we'll go through our record, and how we think the Chiefs are going to do. Never been done in sports radio, I know, that going through and seeing how many wins. But
groundbreaking.
Yeah, I know. That's what we're doing today. But the Bills in the regular season, for whatever reason, that's the one time the Bills actually do have the Chiefs number when it doesn't matter.
Should have lost last year.
Sure.
I had no idea what was going on. I was pretty tanked, and I didn't know. I didn't know what the ref was saying because I was literally right in front of the Kadarius Toney play, and we're all losing our minds. And then they called some sort of offsides on offense, and no one knew what was going on. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really love that first 5 games. I love the open. I love how it's big opponent, road test.
Ravens, Bengals, at Atlanta, at LA, home to New Orleans,
and then bye. And at that point, you could be 4-1 with just a clamp on the AFC with a quick bye right after you just got started, rest up, and then you start your run. And then you've got the best thing that no one really ever talks about is you have everybody else watching you, which is something that the Chiefs have been doing for quite a bit. Now, last year was different than years prior, but if you could start off 4-1 and 2 of those wins are the first 2 weeks of the season, you have everybody watching you while you sit back on your couch early in November or October, and everybody's looking at you going, okay, so the Chiefs have already beaten Baltimore. Yep. They've already beaten Cincinnati. Yep. They've already beaten Atlanta on the road. Yep. They lost against the Chargers on the road. Who cares? Oh, and then they go on a bye, and then they win against San Francisco because Andy Reid's disgusting after the bye. They're 5-1, and they're just getting started, and they've had a bye. They've had their rest, and then it's like all of a sudden, who's next?
It puts more emphasis, do you guys agree, though, on the start of the season? Like if we're going to say that it can, we're talking about the positive, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
They could be sitting pretty. They could already have wins over teams that might be a challenge for the number 1 seed, and if you think that's something this team can do again this particular season. On the flip side, though, there's the reality of, let's say they somehow don't get off to a good start.
Yeah, that would suck.
Then you already would have had the bye, and then it's a hell of a stretch the rest of the way. I actually think there's more importance on getting off to the good September, and historically they've been good in September. Last year was a little funkier. Rashee Rice's suspension, we can talk about later, is going to play a role in this as well. But don't you guys agree that the first 5 is actually more important than it maybe has in prior years because of how early the bye week is?
Yeah, I think that's why the opening 3 games for me are really, because you have primetime game, prime slot game, primetime game. And just to get, not that they would, but if they start 1 and 2, gets a look, and there's questions to be asked going into the next few games where you go through some of the tougher teams on the schedule, but you're not off to that start where you feel more comfortable going into the stretches you mentioned after the bye, which really hurts that they're early. Of course, you can't plan on injuries or anything, but if you start 2-4, like Michael Robinson said, I don't think that's going to happen. But if you start 2-4, and then after the bye, you have to have this gauntlet of games where you're playing the 3-10. You're doing the holiday games. It's a lot to manage while also trying to feel like you're in a must-win situation.
I just think it's interesting because when you look at how this team plays, and Mahomes, I think his record in September is 15-4, and then his record in December is like 22-6. He starts hot, he finishes hot. And where's the schedule hot? At the beginning and at the end. I trust that the quarterback whose resume speaks for itself gets off to a good fast start, gets off to a good finish. You look at last year, they lost that embarrassing game on Christmas Day. They had enough of what wasn't working. They threw away the script. They brought back in a new sort of revised playbook, and it worked, and they didn't lose ever again after Christmas Day. You look at the start of the season last year, they lose to the Detroit Lions. Big whoop. They didn't have 2 of their best starters on the field. Chris Jones is in a press box, and Travis Kelce was in an ankle cast. So you look at how that goes. You have your quarterback. You have your season. Let's just get started, man. That's what it is. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And to this point, no one's done that in the last 2 calendar years. And the reason for that is because Mahomes gets off to a good start. And one of those losses out of the 15-4 record was to Baltimore. So there might be a little juice on that because we remember that game. It started off with the Tyrann Mathieu pick 6.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was the stupid, cringy, you want to do it, Lamar? You want to do it?
Themselves into Lamar Jackson now having figured it out. It's like, well, the game right before they lost in the AFC title game. But that's if you just are annoyed by narratives, you also want the Chiefs winning week 1, so you don't even have to deal with for 10 days the narrative talking as if, oh my gosh, are the Chiefs in trouble? I will say, though, if Rashee Rice is out for, let's say, 8 games, so that would be out for the Ravens game, out for Cincy, out for Falcons, out for the first Chargers game, out against the Saints, and someone asked in the text line, the week 6 bye does not count for the suspension. It's game suspension.
It's games,
so week 7 at San Francisco, week 8 at the Raiders. His first game back in this hypothetical, if it was an 8-game suspension, would be week 9 against Tampa.
I think he's probably going to get 10 games. I think that was what the earlier.
So
report
he'd be
was.
out against Tampa, and then the Week 10 Denver. His first game back would be at Buffalo. In
Well,
this
10
scenario.
games would be Week 11. It'd be Week. He'd be out.
Oh, week. You're right.
He'd be out.
Sorry,
Buffalo.
I did what I was just saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
Week
no,
12 at Carolina then would be his first game.
But you
That's
get
a long
But
time,
you get
man.
a healthy, fresh Rashee Rice going through the December gauntlet with Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. Maybe he's developed by then. Somebody says, take the Chiefs' glasses off. Mind your damn business. Sorry for cussing. But no, I'm not. I'm just giving you statistical proof.
That's why Drew's here. He balances it out. You know, he needs to take off the Cincinnati glasses. You know, Joe Burrow over here. He's all excited.
He's got a healthy Joey B. He's got T. Higgins all of a sudden back on the team.
How badly do you think if he say he's out
The
for
Giants jerseys are terrible.
say he's out through 10 games? How badly do you think they miss him when they're going through when you have to play the Niners, you have to play the Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals.
Sure.
I mean, you have to go through a solid group of teams.
I think it depends on is Travis Kelce healthy? Because last year he wasn't healthy for much of the year, and so you didn't really see Hall of Fame Travis until the postseason. If Travis is healthy heading into Week 1, then I think it's manageable. It's hard for me to freak out knowing what the wide receiver room was last year, because even without Rashee Rice for the first 10 games, if Travis Kelce's healthy and Hollywood Brown is an upgrade of what they've had in the wide receiver room before. It's a lot of pressure on Xavier Worthy. That's the question. It's why I think they need to still bring in another wide receiver. I would have liked Zay Jones
Michael
as
Thomas.
an insurance or somebody like that.
That's what everybody wants. Michael Thomas.
But it's an impact. It's just
Slam boy.
if you think the defense is going to still be near the level at all what it was last year, I don't think you can sit here and say, oh, man, the first 10 weeks, though, without Rice, there's no way they can get through that without being, 500 or worse or something. I don't buy that when we just saw what happened last year.
Well, I don't know why people keep calling me the Wolverine. I've never been called that.
They're getting you confused. You used to be the dirty werewolf.
Not anymore.
Yeah, you dropped that. That's done forever. That's retired? Is it ever coming back?
No.
Done.
Yeah.
And is that because of...
That's because of Barbador or whatever his name is.
Chiefsaholic, the doc.
Yeah.
It's been greenlit for Amazon.
And now there's a new one called a wolf in Chiefs clothing.
That's the Amazon one.
I don't want any part of that. I'd rather be Wolverine with blades coming out of my knuckles.
Yeah, Wolverine would be more badass, I think, than a guy wearing a wolf.
Awesome, but I don't want to be confused with whatever. Somebody says he's not getting suspended this year. Rashee Rice is 100% getting suspended this year.
I don't know if it's 100%. I think it is way more. I think it's way more likely it's this year. I don't think we can say 100% because the NFL man will drag this crap on sometimes. I wouldn't go 100, but I think it's probably 80% chance that he's suspended. Yeah,
because a lot of people last night were comparing it to the Frank Clark suspension. How he didn't get suspended in that season but
there wasn't video of that. It was 2 gun charges, and there was no video, and nobody was hurt. That's, I think, the difference.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
With what's going on. We'll talk more about this a little bit later on in terms of the Rashee Rice suspension potential and how it impacts the schedule. Up next, I want to get a former player's perspective, Dane Hughes, on the schedule and how tough that is when you see the way it's laid out for the Chiefs. We'll do that next here on Cody and Gold.
Hey, it's Brady Singer. You're listening to Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 610 Sports Radio and the Odyssey app.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
The sun is out, the water's fine, and the crew is ready to party. Summer is here. Hy-Vee has everything you need to make a huge splash this Memorial Day. Fire up the grill and impress your guests with prime reserve steaks, chicken grillers, or specialty brats. Don't forget our ready-to-serve side dishes. Cool off with some tasty refreshments from our wide selection of beverages, wine, and spirits. Make a splash into summer this Memorial Day weekend at your Kansas City area Hy-Vee.
Hey, it's Kling. There are many reasons to love my friends from Hy-Vee. The selection, the prices. And Hy-Vee's always finding new ways to save me lots of money, especially at the gas pump. Just the other day, 75 cents off per gallon. I've just been racking up those fuel savers, and you can too. I'm actually headed to Hy-Vee on Monday to save 45 cents a gallon on gas when I spend just $45 in groceries in honor of Christian Lundgaard's number 45 IndyCar, proudly sponsored by Hy-Vee. You can rev up your savings as well this Monday only at Hy-Vee.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And though I generally talk about medicine and effective treatments for erectile dysfunction and other men's sexual health issues, today I want to talk about love. Because love is is the best reason to get treated for your ED. You see, ED can cause major relationship issues. In fact, men often push their partners away when ED becomes a problem. The condition can cause depression, arguments, breakups, and even contribute to divorce. But the good news is that if you're like most men suffering with ED, you can be successfully treated at Heartland Men's Health and put a stop to the relationship stresses that ED can cause. I say this with all confidence because we have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases. Truly, it's likely you'll find you're performing like you haven't in years. So make an appointment and get the love back in your life. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices: Overland Park, Independence, and now North Kansas City.
All hands are on deck at Midwest Marine, Friday, May 24th from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. for their 10-hour sale. Rates as low as 6.99% with approved credit at Midwest Marine. No payments for the first 90 days. All signed deals get an in-store credit of $1,000 to use on parts, accessories, or service. Purchase a new boat over $50,000 and get a free Old Town kayak. The 10-hour sale, Friday, May 24th from 9 to 7, only at Midwest Marine, 13800 South Highway 71 in Grandview. Midwest Marine, we take pride in your fun.
When it's time for a brake job, go with a solution that delivers one of the smoothest and most quiet rides on the road. Napa Silent Guard brakes. Made with fiber-reinforced shims that eliminate noise for the life of the pad. Rubber-coated hardware for a better fit on 99.5% of vehicles. And quality design that meets and exceeds OE performance. Napa Silent Guard brakes deliver the stopping power and performance drivers demand in their vehicles. Available now at Napa locations nationwide.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor, an indexed annuity tied to growth in the stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. It's guaranteed money for life income, no matter how long you live. Call 888-509-2228. 888-509-2228. Sponsored by GP Agency, Inc., Raleigh, North Carolina. Licensed in all states. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial professional before making an investment decision.
We're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. Like 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. Switch today.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details.
La 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 la.
Oops. Ever had your singing lessons cut short by icy water?
Oh, I'm sorry, honey.
Say goodbye to those cold notes with Navien tankless water heaters. With Navien, you'll hit all the right notes without the surprise chill. So keep singing and let Navien keep the hot water flowing. And get ready for the encore when you get your utility bill.
La 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 la.
Navien tankless water heaters. Visit tanklessmadesimple.com.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Okay, we've got an hour to clean both cars. Grab the buckets.
Cool.
I picked up some 303. Their aerospace protectant is awesome, so we're going to try some of their other stuff. Grab me that bottle of wash.
Whoa, that smells amazing.
Yeah, that citrus is nice. Okay, now hand me the hose.
Hey!
I don't see a bucket yet.
303 Car Care. Driven by quality. Available at most auto retailers and Amazon.
You know your customers. Ralph likes his coffee black on Fridays, but Mondays he takes a little cream. Jennifer comes in every 3 years when her lease is up to get the newer and better model. And for some reason, pepperoni pizza sells like crazy on Friday nights. Who knew? At Odyssey, we have the expertise to get your media plan done right. With ads like you're hearing right now, to targeted social media campaigns, search engine optimization, and location-based advertising. Advertise with Odyssey and help us grow your business. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
All right, we're just getting started here on a Thursday. Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Dusty Likens in for Cody Tapp today. Cody will be back tomorrow. Drew Nixon producing the show. We'll get to Dana Hughes in just 1 second. Saw this during the break, though, Dusty. This sucks. Some news out of Kansas City. I think it was from maybe the Star originally. Now it's been aggregated a little bit. But reports are that Xavier Worthy's car was stolen overnight from his apartment complex in town. One source says, quote, the car was stolen from a residential parking garage by a professional group of criminals who, quote, knew exactly what they were doing. No one was hurt. There, no carjacking. Just the car was simply stolen out of his garage. Man, the guy just got to Kansas. That sucks.
What does it mean they knew exactly what they're doing? Yeah, they stole a car.
That sucks.
Or were they trying to steal something else?
I have
Were they being porch pirates and they just stumbled upon a car?
They're just saying that they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew did they know whose car it was? All that. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, that's terrible. I'd be pissed if someone.
Well, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is.
Like Binkley wanted to murder the world when someone stole his catalytic converter.
Well, yeah, that's that. I remember when that happened.
That's just a part. Like that's not the whole.
That's
car.
expensive, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway. There you go. That's just something that came across.
What kind of car it was?
I'm not sure. It didn't say in the article.
It's not like rookies have a ton of money.
Yeah, but I doubt it was a 2008 Honda Civic. You know what I mean?
Although I think you go to any car lot and be like, "Hey, I'm Xavier Worthy. Would you like to do a sponsorship?"
Yeah, I mean he'll be fun. He'll be all right, but it doesn't mean it's still a pain in the ass. I don't care who you are.
Stolen from you? Like did somebody steal something from you that you ever remember?
That I actually no, but I've had my car window busted out and stuff.
That's tough.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't know. We'll get I don't want to start the conversation with Danon with this, but now I'm kind of curious. Former Chiefs wide receiver Danon Hughes joins us. I have to ask now: Have you ever had a car stolen or a teammate story or anything like that?
No, I haven't had a car stolen, but I have had a car broken into. My wife has had cars broken into as well back in Jersey. But yeah, it's frustrating for sure when you come out, and then it's just. It's just kind of the what you call it, just the effect for the future is that every time you park your car, every time you go home, you wonder. Adds to a little bit of sleepless nights, I guess. But fortunately, he was not involved, and he wasn't in the car. It wasn't a carjacking, so there's always another car you can get.
The only thing that ever got stolen from me, Danon, was my heart. A girl stole that from me one time. She took it, man. She ran away. I never saw her again.
Oh man. You guys got to get some counseling or something for that, right?
Yeah, you never know. I still got some time on this earth. I might find a nice little lovely lady. You never know.
All right, Danon, I do want to ask you about the schedule for starters and the player perspective kind of on this, because we're all talking about that stretch of games at the end of December with the Christmas Day game on Wednesday, the Saturday before, and that stretch of 3 and 10. As a player, I mean, what other than the physical recovery, mentally, how do you kind of prepare yourself for that?
Take a deep breath and just exhale after the 10 days are up. I mean, it's just a mindset where you just recognize that you're always working uphill. Other teams may have to grind in similar circumstances. And for us as champions, you just recognize, hey, this is just part of the process. It's par for the course in regards to getting a third Super Bowl. And if this is the way we have to do it, if the NFL had chosen, whether it's the algorithm or just intentionally to make it a little bit more difficult path for us, so be it. Okay, we just got to go out there and play. And I think as a player, you wind up, especially once the season starts, you wind up having tunnel vision in regards to like where you're going to be, where you're going to go. Okay, let's work towards that bye week, which is insanely early for the Chiefs. That's probably the part of the schedule that I'm most disappointed in and most concerned about is how early the bye week is. The 3 games in 10 days, not so much, because I feel like as long as you don't go into that first game with any significant injury, which we wouldn't know obviously at this point, but if you don't go into it with significant injuries, then you can kind of ride that wave through those 3 games. But if you have something that happens in that first game of that 3-game process with an injury to a key player, now you might lose them for all 3 games. So that's where the concern comes in, and you just don't know until the time comes. But the bye week and being so early in week 6 is an issue for me.
Dana, I thought Travis Kelce said something interesting on his podcast about playing the good teams early, about how you don't really, you don't have to show a whole lot, right? You can get everybody a fresh start. They play Baltimore, Cincinnati week 1, week 2. Obviously, you'll be there live in attendance. Do you like that, or do you like that sort of ideology that you play those good teams early, you get them out of the way, and if there is a chance you beat them, they don't see anything really special?
Yeah, I don't buy into it too much. I think there's some credence to it. As a player, you just kind of have a different mindset. But for me, whoever you play, they're going to have ample enough information on you, whether it's through the preseason or from last season, et cetera, that I think everybody comes in prepared. Now, if you have a number of young starters that are coming in, then, yeah, playing a team that's really good early can help, because it can help their development, help bring them up to the speed, because I don't care where you played college, in the SEC, Big Ten, or wherever, the speed of the game in the NFL is different. It's just different. So there is a maturation process. So if you're playing a really good team early, maybe that can help accelerate some of your young talent into NFL play and what's necessary. Maybe bring them back down to earth because they've been so successful in college, and now they just expect the same thing at the next level. So there are some pros and cons to playing good teams early. I just feel like we're going to get the best shot from everybody. Like if every team, if you're a team that's playing against the Chiefs and you knew that you were coming to play against the Chiefs during the regular season last year, and you haven't been amped up like the Detroit Lions were last year to come into Arrowhead and play against the defending Super Bowl champs, then you don't have a pulse to belong in the NFL. So I feel like we're going to get the best shot. We're going to get a Super Bowl challenge every single week. It doesn't matter if it's the better team or not. As far as the Ravens coming in, like, I think it's pretty cool that the team that you beat in the AFC Championship on their field has an opportunity to kind of dwell on this for the entire offseason and the preseason, that they get a chance for retribution this early in this upcoming season. So I think that's a cool twist. And it'll be a highly populated, highly game that I hope we can come out with a win.
We're talking to former Chiefs wide receiver Danian Hughes. Of course, he's on the Chiefs Radio Network. You'll hear him on 106.5 The Wolf starting in August, of course, with the preseason slate getting underway. I was talking to Dusty about this to start the show, that when we're seeing the stretch of games in the Chiefs and all these special windows that the NFL has created with these new streaming partners, maybe it doesn't happen until the league truly goes to 18 games or maybe more than that in the future. But isn't this kind of testing, whether or not we could see more of what we've seen in the NBA, which is this idea of load management? And I'm not saying the quarterback, you're not going to sit out Patrick Mahomes, but other players, and especially if somebody, let's say going in that Texans game, is a little nicked up, maybe do you consider holding them out for a game or two more than you would in the past, knowing the stretch?
Yeah, I don't know if that'll come to fruition this season. Maybe when 18 games comes into play, because you may feel at that point of the season that you're between a 3 seed and a 4 seed in the playoffs. But the difference with the NBA and Major League Baseball is that they play series, postseason series. So you always have opportunities to play on your home court or your home field. In the NFL, like we saw last year, the Chiefs played one postseason game, and then they had to go on the road. I don't think a lot of teams would want to give up on that option that early in December or in the mid part of December. So to me, I think there's always going to be a situation, even from a business perspective, as an organization, okay, if we have an opportunity to get one more game, how much more revenue does that bring to the organization? If we can win one more game and guarantee ourselves at least one playoff game. So I don't know if that would trickle down into the X's and O's and the decisions on who plays or not. I think more so you'll see is if a guy is nicked up and he needs one more week to be full speed for the final 3 or 4 games of the season, and then considering you're probably in a position where you have to play in a wild card game, then divisional, and then obviously the AFC Championship. So you have that 4-game stretch to get to the promised land. Then you might hold a guy out because he wouldn't have any other opportunity for a break. But as far as like load management or something like that, I just think that because we don't play in series, that every game matters so much. And now when you're only a 1 seed, like we saw this last season where just the 1 seed is the only one that gets to bye, I think it's imperative that you got to play your best every single week.
I'm sure you've looked at the schedule up and down and up and side by side. What's a matchup that kind of has you a little more interested than maybe you thought you would when you first glanced at it after you've kind of like digested that schedule? What's like in Dane and Hughes' mind? It's like, ooh, this might be sexy.
Yeah. You know what? The first things that jump out to me is, like I said, the bye being early in the season. I think the 2-game stretch where we go back to the West Coast back-to-back weeks, and then there's another 2-game stretch where we go to